Good afternoon to all of you. And in fact, last night I got the key to success, but today I found out the lock was changed. So unfortunately, here I am. So we were been listening to all these bigger startups, IBM, about Google, about a lot of things. So here is a small startup, 1.5-year-old company, having significant traction so far, funded. I'll take 1-2 minutes in introducing myself because I'm new. The Bookingjini that was mispronounced as Guinea. I'm born to a lower middle class banker in a city called Bhubaneswar. How many of you know the city? Okay, great. So I have friends. So educated there itself, and this was the time when internet was not there. This was the time when we learned internet. When I really was graduating, kind of masters. I did my masters in management from a local business school there called Xavier's Institute of Management, luckily. Because our parents those days used to focus more on our education, like rightly many of you have said. So entrepreneurship is one thing that is like nobody in my distance relative also is an entrepreneur. I'm the first generation entrepreneur in my so-called joint family or extended family that we have. And when I announced, I worked in Bombay initially with a financial service company, and rose in 10 years, rose to the level of vice president, sales and distribution. Had been successful, throughout my career there. I had always been the #1 position, whatever position I was given. So innovation and ideas that I learned from there, I said, well, let's implement in my own startup. So in 2010, there was nothing called this startup. So I had something to do of my own. So I really started here in Electronic City, Bangalore, and we used to do body shopping, the so-called body shopping. My clients were Intel, Marvell, SanDisk in US, and we used to supply manpower and build them. So this was a service business basically that we were into. So coming back to now, the innovative products that we do over a blockchain, and people spoke about AI and all that. I don't know where I came from because I'm not a technology guy. Many of you said I'm a techie, 30 years of AI, and I don't know anything about technology. All I know over the past 3 years through self-learning, and that's how I lead this organization. Possibly that's why we are growing fast, because I am challenging the status quo, since nobody taught me that this is technology. So here are my 2 cents on innovation, on ideas, on leadership. I am trying to, the topic that was given to me, I slightly changed that. Sorry for that, Amit and Monica. So, people say me, think out of the box. What is that? People say me, hatke, you have to, so being a startup, that's my life today. One day I'm like high, one day I'm low, one day I'm thinking, things are not going, let me give up. The next day, there is this, alpha client that I get, sign up for $200 a month. I'm happy, well, it's working. The next day again, that client, first client says, well, I quit. So that's my life. So in this dynamic thing, how to innovate? So that's, again, my 2 cents of, my thoughts on innovation. So that's me. After Mr. Solanki's presentation, I was this. So I said, what is this innovation all about? Types of innovation and all that. So I'm too small a company to understand this. With 18 people in my organization, as we speak. So there has been, if you Google around innovation and, let me also say, if you Bing around innovation, because giving little credit to Microsoft also, so you will find a lot of quotations, a lot of ideas, a lot of things. But the basic thing is that how do you execute it? So innovation starts, in my opinion, from ideas. First there has to be idea, then it has to be connected, and then you try to execute that, and then something called innovation happens. It's not working? Oh, this side. So you figure out, like many of the panelists said, you do this, do that, and then innovation happens. For me, my organization is the world, and the customers are the bigger world. So each and everything that we think from the day one was by the voice of customers. My customer said, do this, we did that MVP. Like somebody was saying, we did the MVP with the minimum viable product in 3 months, we do it in 15 days. So we are extremely agile because, we are forced to be agile because unless we are agile, I have lost a customer. Because he wants me to, his feature to be like this. Because we run a product company and set of products. So by catering to thousands of clients by now, we have one of the finest product worldwide, globally, that we have today, by just listening to my customers day in and day out. So here I am, today's system is like, we have a standard question. So here it is, there's an elephant elephant there, there's a lion there, there's a tiger, there's a fish, and of course, there is somebody like me, a monkey also. We are given a paper, standard paper, that you have to climb this tree, and who wins? Who is the best? The monkey, yes. So that's what I get always in my team, because I also give them a standard question, standard interview sets, like how do you see yourself 5 years down the line? What was the challenge, biggest challenge you faced in your last job that you did? Aren't they the standard questions? And they answer, and you expect them to answer and come to you and innovate in your company and take your company to the higher level of success globally. So this needs to be first challenged. I think a lot of education people, education leaders are here. That needs to be, many of you are thinking on it. I am sure something will come out of this. Coming to leadership again, since there is two things, because leader has to drive, innovate, and he has to facilitate that innovation in his organization. So leadership, in my opinion, is, people say it's not a title, it's a choice. Leadership is basically a choice you take. Either you are a janitor in the organization or a CEO, you can still be a leader by choosing that you are a leader. But in my opinion, leaders are the person who just do not take you where you want to be, but they take you where you ought to be. So leadership is not a popularity race that, I try to please everybody. Leadership is very, very unpopular, decisions you have to take. So a week ago, I was there in Oxford University, and for business, of course, I don't have money to go for leisure travel as I speak. So I had a couple of partnership and alliance in London. So since I was there, I said, let me go to Oxford. So in Oxford, this is a very interesting thing. This is the first world's cafe where coffee was sold. Earlier, wine was served here, actually. Now, normally you get coffee. This is the first coffee shop in Oxford. So I was told, you should see that coffee shop. So this is a modern coffee shop. A crowded modern coffee shop. Why I'm trying to show you this is, for me, as a startup, how do I ensure, how do I lead innovation in my company? How do I give them a platform wherein they can innovate? So it turns out to be, recently I took those pictures, but this has been my practice from beginning. It turns out to be innovation happens in chaos, where ideas meet ideas. Innovation cannot happen in isolation, in silos. I have an idea, Mr. Solanki has an idea, Amit has an idea. So let's say I have 1,000 rupees, Mr. Solanki has 1,000 rupees, Amit has 1,000 rupees, and we exchange each other. So we still have those 1,000 rupees. Now imagine we have these 3 ideas, we exchange. Now I have how many ideas? I have 3 ideas. Everybody of us has 3 ideas. Now the same thing I go and do is something else. So I keep on growing, and these ideas merge itself, and innovation happens through that. Most of the biggest innovation in the country, in the universe, has been done by exchange of ideas. That's why people say read books, travel, meet people, exchange ideas. So innovation will not happen in silos in a standard methodology or standard room until you meet and class debate across. So this is one of the favorite slides that I think. Where do you think among these 4 pictures innovation is likely to happen? Picture 1? Yes? No? Picture 1? Yes? Picture 2 on the right side? No? Picture 3? Somewhat? Picture 4? Of course not. So no doubt, no wonder, I mean, we say startups are like this, picture 1 and 3. Now, that is the reason why innovation happens in startup, quicker, agility. Not because, going back to the coffee shop example, it is because, it's not that startup are like this, they have a setup like this, it's because they have a setup like this, they innovate. I mean, just to put things on perspective. So let's talk about, oh, sorry, the idea of sex, no. I am talking about the sex of ideas. Sorry for that. So in my opinion, when 2 ideas have sex, innovation happens. You got me? So in my opinion, this is what is very important, that 2 ideas need to have sex, and then innovation happens. So this is my topic today. Interestingly, this is purely my observation and what I practice every day. That's what I am bringing on the table. And of course, some Google pictures are there. So the first thing is, everybody was mentioning in the last panel was fail fast. So be it relationship, be it idea, be it your product, that particular feature, that particular customer, my agenda has been very simple: let's fail it fast. I'm chasing a funding guy. He says me, give me this equity, that equity. I say, come on, let's write the SHA and let's fail it fast. There's an alliance happening in somewhere in the corner of the country, partnership, reseller. I say, come on, whatsoever is your terms, let's go write it and fail it fast. Whatever happens in my company is totally, on the very fundamental theory of let's fail fast. There's a broadly written on my walls that let's fail fast. Like everybody was appreciating. So I thought, thank God I'm aligned. So, and the second thing that we are talking about is question and listen. We normally question and don't listen with a prejudgment. We be very judgmental as a leader of the organization. So we say, I have the ability to question, so let me not listen with the halo or horn effect. Normally I listen to the answers. But however, of course, if you are working on that coffee shop environment, you are already not a boss, you are his colleague, and that thereby they are more open talking to you like a friend and not as a boss. So I still am a so-called millennial, but I work for a generations who are again 10 years, 20 years younger than me. So they challenge the status quo more than what I challenge. They move so fast that sometimes I feel I'm like a 60-year-old today, even if I'm below 40. Be authentic. I mean, this is what is very important. Be genuine in terms of the culture that you set in your organization. It has to be genuine and appreciated. Foster genericity is basically at the same time, you talk to an old guy who's my mentor, let's say, for example, Mr. Sunil Gupta, ITC Welcome Heritage CEO, who is at his 60s. I talk to him often, weekly, twice, the calendar is blocked. And a person who is, maybe 16-year-old, 15-year-old, who is just in a college doing my internship with me, I also block calendar for him. So that there is weird kind of ideas, there is this diversity of ideas that clashes again. As I said, these ideas has to do sex, and then innovation will come. So interestingly, my growth hacker who is heading, I mean, of course, there is no head in my company, but there are people who are responsible for certain things in my organization. The growth hacker, you will be very, it's awkward to tell you, I recruited him from a restaurant. So this guy called Bicky, who calls himself Neil, is 20-year-old as we speak today. 2 years ago I met him, 1 year ago I met him, and he was serving tea in a restaurant. Upon conversation, I understood that he is a digital marketer and he understands technology all by his own, and he has not passed 10th class. Matriculation he has not done. So I said, why, could you work for me? So how much salary are you getting here? Boss, 6,000. I'll pay you 10, come to me. So he's a guy from Agartala working in Kolkata, comes to Bhubaneswar with all the passion and all, and he surges today our organization. I'm sure he will give run for the money for good digital marketer if you at all meet him. So these kind of people, you only bring innovation when you diverse your team and bring about different kinds of people of different ages in your company. Paying attention, I did not elaborate on this, is very important because every employee, every team member has a different need. Money is of course one need, then there is a lot of other needs. Once you start paying attention, you understand the context and content of how you speak to them and engage them on innovation. Oh, this side it's happening. Okay, so personalization again is very, very important because the example of monkey climbing the tree, so I am asking a lion to swim. Many times I do that. I'm asking a fish to climb a tree. So can I identify this ability, the competency of the person, and accordingly give the task? And somewhere this under-matriculate guy leads the discussion when it is his competency. And on the other side, when it's my competency, it's let's say sales, or we are talking about serious high-level technology thing, it's my competency, let me lead. So collaborative inquiry again is very, very important. For example, there is a small story I want to share with you. Is 1957 or 6, this satellite was the first satellite that Soviet launched. It was Sputnik, yeah. So this satellite, Americans were like crazy. I mean, somebody in scientists said, let us hear these satellites, the voice of this satellite. So they set up some Doppler and also tried to listen to this satellite, and they were successful. And they said, well, there is this beeps coming after time interval, and if you calculate those beeps, you can understand through basic unitary mathematics, you will understand the speed of that satellite through it's moving. And then slowly what happened was, somebody said, can we do it reverse? From known locality, you are finding an unknown locality. Can we do it from an unknown locality to a known? Known to an unknown. So that's how they spent a lot of satellites, and finally GPS technology was evolved. And Ronald Reagan, 30 years later, he made it open source, and today each one of you in your mobile has a phone which finds you coffee. Most important, the last is purpose. Unless you have that purpose in your life, the purpose that you are running for, the fire within, I mean, all this is just a story and just a discussion. That purpose needs to be very strong, and right there in front of you, and possibly innovation and everything, ideas, everything will take care of itself. For example, blockchain, we work heavily on blockchain. So blockchain is one area which evolved through this kind of idea. A community, a rebellion community said, let's disturb banks. And then Bitcoin came. And Bitcoin came as a result of which blockchain started. And this blockchain technology is revolutionized the other things. I mean, Bitcoin is already aside, and we are more talking about blockchain. So just to sum up, purpose being the most important. So chances favor the connected mind. Let's stay connected, and innovation will happen. Thank you so much.